Wow,
What a crowd.
what a turnout.
Richard?
Hottest ticket in town Friday night, right here in H110. Wonderful. Bonsoir, chers étudiants Co-op. Welcome to our annual welcome orientation. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. My name is Richard Melkonian. I'm a program coordinator at the Institute for Cooperative Education. And I'm actually going to be your host tonight. The last few years, my colleague Alex Bataushi was doing this. For finance MBA students, you might know who he is. He's taken a short leave. He's not here tonight. He won't be here for the next few weeks because he's running his campaign for mayorship of Dollard des Ormeaux. So I'm not going to plug his campaign, nor am I going to encourage all you residents of DDO to go and vote on October pre-vote October 29th, and the vote is November 5th. Okay? But you know what? We thought that maybe just have a little souvenir to hold on to, and this is something that he had started taking a little selfie with the group. Maybe I can do that here and share that with him. So if you'll indulge me. Okay, that side, you might get squeezing in a little more. Sorry, just a little more. Okay. No? Tough crowd. Okay, great. Back to business. Very good. I'll make sure to turn off my phone if you make sure to turn off yours. All right? Great. So, the agenda for tonight is we'll continue to welcome you and introduce you to Co-op. Our director will do that. He'll welcome and introduce you, explain to you why you've chosen Co-op, why you should stay in Co-op, and the benefits of it. Then I will come back on board and talk to you about your Co-op journey and how to succeed in the program. And then finally, I think the pièce de résistance is our panel, student panel discussion here at the end of it all. So we look forward to that as well. So without further ado, I'd like to present our director, Dr. Claude Martel.
Very good. Wow, amazing group. You know, this room has never been so full. And it's wonderful because Co-op is growing. And it's growing for all kinds of the good reasons. You probably joined Co-op because you want experience. You want to have a diploma plus experience. But many of you might not know exactly what Co-op is all about. You heard about it. Maybe some of you have friends that did the Co-op program. But let me take a few seconds to explain a little bit what Co-op is all about. Now, Co-op is a brand that is world recognized. When somebody says he's a Co-op student, all the company, their eyes pop. And I talk to VPs of HR from all the large organizations in Montreal and around the world. And what they want is Co-op students. That means they want you. So that's one positive. You have to remember this. Now, Co-op is really the bridge between academic and workplace. And that's a very basic definition, but it's not really the whole story. The whole story is when we do a Co-op program, it's really a partnership with the faculties and programs. The faculty and programs work very hard to make the academic programs work with the work terms we do, the internships. They also plan a lot to give you the skill set that you will need to go out in the workplace. It's also a partnership with the industry. I talk maybe to 100 to 200 companies a year, all the major ones. Name a major one like the Bombardier, the CAE, the Fidelity Investment, and they really want to recruit the best and the brightest. Again, that's you. So you're in a really fortunate situation. You just joined the Institute of Cooperative Education, and its role is to make sure that we work with the academics so that you have the right skill set and work with industry to start off your career. And that's much more than just doing an internship. I hear that all the time. Oh, co-op is just an internship. It's much, much more. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why co-op is important. First, it jumpstarts your career. On the average, a student graduating from a co-op diploma skips 2 to 5 years of experience. They come out, and actually I had a student come to me and says, you know, when you have a job, you come out from university and they require 2 to 3 years of experience? You all seen those, like they're the most common. Co-op students apply to those and get them. Because when you come out of here, you have 12 months of experience, usually 3 work term. Some of you will have 4 in some programs. But that sets you up with a level of experience that is amazing. And the employers recognize that readily. So it really jumpstarts your career. Now, another side effect that is kind of nice is you make money. At Concordia, we don't do internships that are not paid. So you will earn money doing your work term and your internships. So you'll have 12 months of relevant work. And the way it works at Co-op, most of you are first year. So you'll start your program. Your first work term or internship will be something probably more general. The second one will get a little bit more specialized. And the third one will be much more specialized. So as you go through the co-op journey, you'll first be integrated in the workplace. Then you'll start to develop skills that are necessary for the diplomas you're having, whether it's engineering or business or geography. And then you can also use co-op to explore different type of career opportunities. So 3 work terms. You might decide, I know exactly what I want, and you'll have some of the panelists tell you about their story. But you can actually select, and I want to inquire more about one element in the workplace. Or you might say, I want to try this, I want to try that, I want to try that. Co-op allows you to select your career path. It puts you in control of your career. That's what co-op is all about. Finally, you will be able to develop a network and mentoring opportunities. Believe it or not, you are an elite group that will be the leaders of tomorrow. Use this. Turn around and look at somebody next to you. They might be a leader also. So use this network. You'll also meet tons of organizations. You'll see when Richard tells you about the co-op journey, how amazing events appear. Companies come up and want to showcase what they do. This is experience that is not available outside a co-op. So that's the co-op journey, the co-op experience. It's a diploma that is incredibly valuable, and it's considered incredibly valuable by the employer. And it's your choice to make the most of it. Now, to help you on this, this is one illustration that a VP of HR of a large corporation that will remain nameless, but he tells me when they receive CVs, it's usually a pile like this. And usually, if you have an university degree, you're somewhere in the lower third. If you have a degree, the same degree with experience, you're somewhere in the middle. And guess where the co-op people are? They're really planning to recruit people with experience, and it really places you in a favorable position in the workplace. Now, to do this, you won't be alone. You'll have teams of people that will help you all through the co-op experience. On one side, you'll have what we call academic directors. May the academic directors in the room please stand up? You can applaud them if you want to. Academic director, you have one in each program of co-op. So this is your person within the department that is there to advise you, to help you make the selection of courses. If you wanted to change your scheduling, they're the go-to person for that. They're in charge of all the academic side of the co-op experience. On the other side, then we have co-op program coordinators. Please, those who are coordinators, please stand up. Okay, Richard is one. Okay, there was not enough space in the room, so they're all still outside. You know the people that were outside registering? They were all co-op coordinators. Again, you'll be assigned to one coordinator, and this is the person that is the contact person for the job market. It's the person that you talk to and says, what are the possibilities? If I do this, what will happen? Is my CV okay? Should I tweak? What's happening with this organization? They're really your go-to people for everything that is employer and application base. So you have great people on the academic side, great people that will also help you everything about the workplace. Then you have two wonderful people. We have Natalie over here. Is Stephanie in the room? No? Okay. So we have two staff here that are here to help you train, because being prepared for your career and for the working in the workplace is not as easy as it thinks. You need to know how to do job search. You need to do how to do a resume. Co-op students have an amazing impact because their resume is flamboyant. That actually employers tell me all the time. And this is because we give you training on this. We make you prepare for the workplace. Actually, from each industry you will be looking at, we'll prepare you for that industry also. So we have a team of people, the learning and professional development team, that is there to help you progress in your career. Finally, we have an administrative team that will go through all the mayhem of, you know, that universities are not complicated. Oh, sorry. They're complicated. So this staff is really here to help you going through the meander of the organization. So all these people there are here to help you in your co-op journey to make sure you have the best experience possible. Sounds good? Are you ready? That's not co-op students. Are you ready? Yes. Good. So I'll pass along the mic to Richard, who's going to talk to you about what is the co-op journey.
Thank you, Claude. By the way, it's my colleague Fred Francis's birthday today, so industrial and mechanical students, wish him happy birthday. Give him the bumps outside if you like after in the foyer. I'll join you. Our colleagues are not at Reggie's now, are they? They're outside the door. Okay, I hope so. All right, very good. So let us begin the co-op journey, guys. So this is it. Today, your journey really begins with this welcome orientation. We are here at this point. This is the starting point, and it really is exciting times, as Claude has mentioned. Do all of you know, by the way, when your first work term is? Who knows? Let's see. I don't think anybody's got a work term in the winter here. Next summer. Summer work term? Okay. And the following fall work term? I think we covered everybody, right? Okay, about 50-50 or so, give or take. Good, good. And if you don't know when your next work term is, well, you can easily find that out on Compass, okay, under one of the tabs, co-op sequence. It's basically listed when your work terms are scheduled, or contact any of us at the co-op office. We'll gladly guide you, okay? So the co-op career fundamentals, Moodle and live webinars, there are 4 of them that you have to take, okay? Resume, cover letter, job search, and interview. These webinars are hosted by Natalie and Stephanie, okay? So you will do these during the study terms leading up to your first work term. You've got 1 to 2 study terms to get them all done. And that will be followed by a work term preparation seminar by your respective coordinator. We will email you all. We'll probably offer 2 or 3 each. It's very important that you attend that, and from that we will establish the timeline, how you will set yourselves up, how we will organize our time so that you will be fully prepared to engage in the whole job search process. Now, what's important about the work term preparation seminar is that it is specific to your program, okay? And that's why it's important to attend the one that your co-op coordinator offers, okay? Because everything's specific to the respective programs, and there are some subtle differences between the programs as well. But from there, you will be ready to begin the job search process in full force, and that really begins actively 1 semester before your first work term, okay? We encourage you to start that right now. I just had a student call me today and said he saw a posting and he applied for it, and they actually wanted to offer him a job This semester, obviously that can't happen, but we're going to try and work it out for the future. So we want you to start looking at job search sites now, get involved in the CPA recruitment process. There's a CMS Career Fair next Monday, engineering one's coming up in October. So get active, get involved, have your resume reviewed now, but we'll really get active with our Compass database the semester before your first work term. Okay, so you can apply through that. So, after all this hard work, you will have landed your first work term, and that will be quite the feat. Because as you can imagine, work term 1 is pretty tough. It's going to be tough. It's probably be the biggest step you take, because you are competing with students, senior students in their second and third work term. But once you get that, what an accomplishment. Okay, because I could tell you, and I'm sure they can all speak to this, that after work term 1, things get a lot easier. It gets easier to find a job after that. Okay, but we're here to help you every step of the way. So once you're on the work term, we want you to engage in the work term and reflective learning course. These are some Moodle discussions that we will have. Again, Natalie and Stephanie has prepared these. They've designed these. Some of them are podcasts. We want you to get involved in the discussion and give your feedback as well during the work term. That is very important. And you'll notice that they're great opportunities because it's about reflecting and integrating your work experience with your academic side. It's an opportunity for you guys to learn about yourselves. Your expectations may shift as well. So these are all great. And then from there, roughly at the midpoint of your work term, we will conduct worksite visits, either in person, over the phone, or we've started the new e-visit form as well. That's become very popular for both the student and the employer supervisor to complete. And this is great because you get a progress report roughly halfway through your work term to see how you're progressing, how things are coming along. Okay? And then finally, we'll ask you to complete a short work term report or presentation towards the end of your work term. And we'll ask you also to upload that onto the Compass database. Okay? There's no exam at the end of this presentation, folks. We will repeat this. All this information will be available on the Compass site as well. So just want to introduce you to a lot of this information for now. So how to succeed? Well, it's very important for you to understand the expectations, right? And the first one is maintaining a GPA. You all got into co-op because you had a certain GPA, you met the GPA, and we want you to continue to excel and improve your GPA as much as you possibly can, but that is an important requirement to remain in co-op. Otherwise, you might hear from your academic directors. And it's very important to follow your specific work-study sequence, okay? Again, as I said before, on Compass, you will see under the co-op sequence tab, it will outline when you're studying, when you're working, and it's very important to follow that, as well as the specific courses, when you need to take what course and when, because we don't want you to fall into trouble in your final year when you have a course to take, but you've switched things around and it's a prereq and it's not offered, and now you can't be full-time. So it's very important to follow the sequence, but if you have any questions, again, contact your coordinator or the co-op office and we will gladly guide you, okay? We are members of CAFCE, the Canadian Association for Cooperative Education, and that is why there are some of these requirements that we must follow, including you having to start and finish your studies on a study term, right? So you're starting off with 2-3 study terms, get a good solid academic foundation to go on your first work term, and then after that, it alternates. Again, depending on the program, it varies on how that alternates, but that is how it works. The full-time course load is 12 credits, right, for undergrad students. That's the minimum. For grad students, full-time status. Question to undergrads. You're registered for 12 credits and you discontinue a course. Are you still full-time? Anyone say yes? You're right. Yes, you are still full-time. Okay. So you can discontinue a course. Of course, you don't want to make a habit of that, but you would still maintain your full-time status. Another very important point is for you guys to be proactive, okay? Proactive and communicate with co-op in a timely fashion on a regular basis. regarding emails, phone calls, Compass, the job search process. Make sure you're always checking the job postings because they trickle in daily, right? Find out if you have an interview. The interview details are on Compass. There are info sessions. We have some coming up next week. Lockheed Martin, Thomson Reuters, other companies, are CSIS, CSE, and so on are coming on board. So we want you to be aware of these things. We want you to register and attend them in large numbers like you were here today. Maybe not this large, but. And, you know, when you're on a work term and you're experiencing issues with your employer, we are around, okay? We don't want you to feel like you're on your own. You can reach us at any time, whether it's on a work term, on a study term, during weekdays, working hours, mind you, okay? But we're definitely there to help you with any issues you might be expecting, okay, or anticipating. Another important thing to succeed is building your network. You probably heard this 100 times, but it really does make all the difference, and I'm sure the panel members will all speak to that. So building your network and your resume, and beefing up your resume as well, right? So we offer some things like through our mentorship program. My colleague Leslie Hughes deals with this. She manages these programs. So as junior students, you would be eligible for the student-to-student one, kind of like a big brother, big sister, right? We'll pair you up with a senior student, and you can contact them, get advice and experience, words of wisdom from them. And then as you become a senior student, you may be able to participate in the Co-op to Industry program, which is up and running. We've had a few cohorts go through that already. Do we have any forms for that to give out? Yes?
Yeah, for the undergrad program.
Wonderful, for the undergrad program.
So you can always pick up an
All right.
application that is going to be on the table on your way out. And you'll see Menti application.
Wonderful, so
Talk to me afterwards.
if you want to join the mentorship program, we've got application forms waiting for you outside. Employer information sessions, I just named a few coming up next week, and there'll be more, so keep checking that. A lot of times the respective coordinators email our students letting you know. We have speaker series. I know Women in Engineering is a popular one that Gail leads. Student Success Series, which are similar to the panel discussions, but program specific. So the junior students will come and hear from the senior students and their experiences as well. We've got some industry visits. I know Alex had done one with, or a few with Fidelity. Matrox is another company, and hopefully we'll continue to grow that so that students can go and visit companies on site. And finally, we'd love for you guys to volunteer at Co-op. There's so many ways you can give back. This is one way, to actually be up here and speak to the new cohort of students, to participate in our student showcase, to be a mentor someday, right, after your first work term, to help us and volunteer at our open house sessions, and so on, because the employers love to see this type of thing on your resume. And Concordia has taken this a step further, and now there's a co-curricular record that makes it official. There's an official document that states that you have volunteered or participated in various activities. So I think this is a wonderful thing. Get involved in your student associations, get involved in case competitions, and so on and so on. Platforms that you will be working with. So Compass, I've already mentioned several times. You will be accessing this daily, I would say. The study term before the work term, when you're actively engaged in the job search process, okay? All the resources are there, resume, cover letter templates, change of sequence forms. There's even a video on how to use Compass here as well. There's so many different resources available. You can book appointments with your coordinators on Compass, register for webinars, various events, and manage your applications. You'll be creating packages and uploading them onto Compass, okay, as well as your final work term reports and evaluations when you're on a work term that I had mentioned before. Another platform you'll be using is Moodle, okay. This is where you'll access the work term and reflective learning discussions, the podcasts, where we'll ask you to get involved during the work term. And finally, Adobe Connect is where you will be participating in the live webinars, the 4 webinars I mentioned before. Resume, cover letter, job search, interview are all available through the Adobe Connect platform as well. The Co-op Handbook is the Co-op Bible in a sense, right? Everything is in there. Anything you need to know about Co-op is there. all our policies, procedures, FAQs, right? And where to find them. On Compass, on our website, readily available. Okay, so please make sure you're aware of our policies. It's very important because you cannot plead ignorance, right? It won't get you out of trouble. It's important that you're aware. So either by contacting our office or checking the handbook to find out. The handbook is updated fairly regularly and will be updated again later this fall. So your program you've completed your program and now your career awaits. So when you graduate, you'll launch into your career, as Claude has already mentioned quite a bit about this. So I don't want to say too much, but imagine 3 distinct work terms, different industries, different experiences under your belt. You know, your starting salary will be a lot higher than the regular students. You'll have financed your education and hopefully not have too many loans to pay back, student loans, right? And you will have explored so many different career and work opportunities, right? You'll have a really good sense of what you want to do with your career, how you want to get it started anyways. And finally, your network. Your network will have skyrocketed just from the people that you'll meet through co-op, through school, but the network of employers, not just the ones that you work for, right? But the ones that you've interviewed with, the ones that you've met in the information sessions, and so on and so on, will make such a huge difference. And I am sure that the panel will speak to that as well. So that is enough from me and from the staff here at this point. I think what we'll do is before we turn it over to the panel here, we'll probably continue with a video. It's about roughly a 2-minute video. We've got former co-op students who've been through it all, and let's listen to what they have to say about co-op.
Co-op has been the highlight of my Concordia experience. When I look back at where I started at the beginning of my co-op journey, and I look at where I am right now, I know that I've grown a lot personally and professionally.
What was so great about working at 3 different companies through co-op was that you get to experience a lot of different things. Work with different people, work with different teams. You get to decide and see for yourself, you know, the real experience of what you kind of want to do.
Pendant mes stages, j'ai eu l'opportunité de travailler avec des instrumentations qui sont très spécialisées et plus haut que mon niveau. Quand on normal, je n'aurais pas eu la chance de travailler avec.
One of the things I learned during my work terms was how airplane engine components are manufactured from start to finish.
I got to see during my studies what it's like to work in a gallery while I was studying, and really see before I graduate what it's like to work in this kind of field.
En ce qui concerne mes derniers stages à l'INCO, j'ai vraiment pris la décision de prendre plus d'initiatives dans mes travaux. Donc, j'ai créé un document Excel qui sera utilisé pour tous les calculs et toutes les analyses par tous les membres de l'organisation. Donc, c'est vraiment une initiative dont je suis très fier.
What I'm most proud of about my co-op experience is that I feel valuable to companies.
Some of the things students can take advantage of if they enroll in co-op is learn how to write amazing resumes and cover letters along with interview techniques. Another thing is that their program coordinator is always there to coach and mentor them if they ever need help.
The top benefits of co-op, I would say, are you get to decide what you want to do, like after school in your career. Getting some real work experience with what you're studying, it helps you so much. If you're studying this and you're passionate about it and you actually do the work in it, it hardly feels like a job anymore.
What was great about this was how I was able to take what I learned in the classroom and put it into perspective in a real-world environment. Some of the great benefits of co-op are how upon graduation, the chances of you getting a job offer from one of your previous employers is highly likely. And second of all, the fact that it's a paid work term helps you pay for your studies.
The top benefit of co-op definitely has to be networking. It's opened a lot of doors for myself before I even finished my undergrad in terms of job opportunities, but it's also expanded my business network.
When I finish my degree, I won't just have the technical skills that I've learned through school. I'll have 12 months work experience, and that'll really make me shine as a person.
I had known somebody that had gone through the steps in co-op, the different work terms, that really gave them a competitive advantage versus other students.
The best part about it was that I was able to secure a postgraduate job through co-op.
So I know you'll say this is advertising. And it is. but it's not false advertising. To make sure it wasn't false advertising, we decided to bring live examples. We're fortunate tonight to have 5 amazing co-op students that will tell their stories. And it's funny because when we started to talk about it, one of them was telling me 3 years ago he was in that room listening to these stories and says, I want to be there. I want to be in the front row sharing my experience. And actually, he is now. So let me introduce you amazing students that lived through the co-op experience. First, from Supply Chain Operation Management, Gabrielle Moroz. From Biochemistry, Zachary Jiffman. From Computer Engineering, Anita Ori. From Marketing, Kaylee Cochran-Boulet. And from Industrial Engineering, Sébastien Arjona. So you want to just check if your microphone are working?
Hello. Hi. Everyone hears me?
Hello?
Hello.
Perfect. Thank you. So let's start with something simple. A simple question. What made you realize that co-op was the right path for you?
I think we should introduce ourselves first.
Sorry? Oh, sorry. The guy who messes up is always the boss. I know.
Sorry.
So please introduce yourself, Gabrielle.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, my name is Gabrielle. I'm a 4th-year Supply Chain Operation Management student at Concordia University's John Molson School of Business. My minor is in Data Intelligence. For those of you who don't know what supply chain management is, it's basically all the business activities that have to do with transforming raw materials into a finished product for consumers. So basically going through sourcing, procurement, manufacturing, production, warehousing, distribution. All of those things create a supply chain, and my job is to manage that. So through the co-op experience, I've had the opportunity to work for 3 different companies in 3 very different industries. My first one was at Max Bath, Les Bains Max, where I was in demand planning. So I was basically planning how many bathtubs the company should produce every month. My second work term was at Pratt & Whitney Canada, where I was in procurement. So I was basically building stronger supplier relationships and resolving quality and delivery issues for when we were buying different engine parts to go on the engines. And my third internship was at Canadian National Railway, where I was more in like strategic sourcing, and I was resolving many different inventory management issues. So that's my co-op experience. I'm also a mentor for the Co-op Mentorship Program and a teaching assistant for John Molson's COM 215 Business Statistics, the online section, for those of you who are in my class. And in my free time, I like to play the ukulele, and I'm also the recipient of the Quebec Co-op Student of the Year Award.
Congratulations. Zachary.
Hey guys, my name is Zach. I'm currently a 4th-year biochemistry student and member of Co-op. So to date, I've completed 2 of my 3 work terms, where my first 2 work terms were at a company, Chemical Computing Group, which is a software development company which works in studying proteins and protein bodies, and it's sort of a method for modeling various systems, and it's a good first-hand approach to studying these systems prior to doing the experiments in a lab. So at Chemical Computing Group, my position was a validation scientist, where I was tasked with developing new methods for studying different protein systems. My third and current work term, which I'm on right now, is at Clocks Technologies, which is a pharmaceutical company which works in developing a proprietary gel formulation which is used to heal all kinds of soft tissues by harvesting light energy. So in sort of what you have is you have methods for treating acne, increasing the rate of wound healing and whatnot, and it's been an awesome experience so far. And something about me, other than co-op, I've been working on a research project for about 2 years now, studying a novel predatory bacteria known as myxobacteria, which pretty much means that this bacteria will feed off of other bacteria to survive. And it's really been awesome so far. Thank you.
Anita?
My name is Anita. I'm a fourth-year computer engineering student at Co-op. I've always had a passion for video games, and I had the incredible opportunity to do all 3 of my internships at Ubisoft. So for those of you who don't know Ubisoft, maybe we can do a show of hands. How many of you have played Assassin's Creed? Far Cry, Just Dance, Tom Clancy, yeah. So Ubisoft is one of the Ubisoft is one of the biggest video game companies in the world. For my first internship, I was a gameplay programmer working on the behavior team, so I was doing character controls and movements. And then I did my second and third internships as a double internship. I worked this time on the gameplay team, working on weapons, items, and world systems. So it was an incredible experience, and I'm happy to say I'm still working there part-time while I finish my studies. At school, I was briefly involved with Space Concordia. I've done programming competitions, programming research with my professors. I've been a tutorial leader, marker, lab demonstrator. I think that's it. And I'm really happy to be here tonight to share my co-op experience.
Thank you. Kaylee.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Corcoran-Boulay. I am a fourth-year marketing student at John Molson School of Business with a minor in business technology management, and I'm also doing a digital imagery certificate over at Continuing Education. I'm originally from the French school system, so I came from Collège Charlemagne, and then moved over to Vanier College and CEGEP, and then I'm now here at JMSB. And I did 3 internships. My first one was at Megablocks as their social media intern, and I worked with the preschool division, so I was doing Minions, Monster High, Barbie, and all of those fun things. And then I moved over to the gaming and pop culture division, again at Megablocks, in doing brands with Halo, Destiny, Call of Duty, still in social media. And then I moved over to Autodesk for my third internship, where I worked with the indie games division. So I was working with companies such as Runner 3, who was one of the first ones to launch an indie game on the Nintendo Switch. And an interesting fact, I guess one of my favorite projects I worked on was a web series called Building with Cooper. So Cooper, my dog over there. Right here. Where I would continuously just build toys that we had from the gaming and pop culture division, and I would document what I thought of the brand, what I thought of the toys, and, well, Cooper was in all of them.
Sébastien.
So hello everyone. First of all, I'm super excited to be here in front of the future of Concordia. I speak 3 languages, and when I'm excited like this, I tend to mix the 3 of them. I hope it won't happen. So I'm a final semester industrial engineering student. I have completed 3 internships, but I was not in co-op at the beginning. So before doing my internships, I had the chance to do an exchange to Singapore. That's why I put the flag over there. I had the time of my life. It was the best thing I have done. When I came back, I prepared for my first internship, which I did in Pratt & Whitney, Canada, as a production supervisor. I had 51 employees under my supervision. For my second internship, once again in the aerospace industry, I did it in Rolls-Royce in operations management. And once again, I had 50 employees under my supervision. My last internship, I call it my exotic internship. Why? Because I did it in Japan, in engineering design, and I had the time of my life once again, so I have 2 times of my life. And a fun fact about me is when I got to Japan on my second day, I had appendicitis. So I spent my first week in Japan alone, not speaking Japanese, in the hospital. So that was quite special. Thank you.
Now let's see if the director will mess up again. So, first question, what made you realize that co-op was the right path for you? Gabrielle, could you intervene on this?
Yeah, so I was at John Abbott College. I was sitting in my favorite classroom, and the JMSB recruiter walked in with these co-op pamphlets, and then I discovered that the program that I wanted to apply to actually also had co-op, and it was super easy to just take a little check mark on the application, so that's what I did. But after being visited from the recruiter, I actually went to the open house, and that's where I met a third-year supply chain student who actually was in co-op and convinced me to join the program. So that's how I joined the program, basically. But when I actually realized that I was at the right place for me was when I went to a networking event with different co-op students. And I realized that the students at the networking event that I got along with really well were actually just as motivated and as passionate about what they were doing as I was about supply chain. So I was really happy about that.
Thank you. Anita?
Yeah, well, Co-op was actually the entire reason I joined Concordia. It just seems to make so much sense to be paid to do internships during your studies. This is especially true for engineering students because doing co-op doesn't actually make the degree any longer, so there's no reason not to do it. It also helps clarify what you like and what you don't like. It gives you really good experience writing cover letters, CVs, and conducting interviews. And I think it really gives you a competitive edge when you graduate. And I have to say, making $40,000 at the same time didn't hurt.
That's kind of nice. Sebastian? Yeah, the number is true.
Yes, so in my case, it was quite different. As I said, I joined Co-op in my second year. Why did I join Co-op? Is because I was looking for internships by myself. I applied to over 20 positions and I received 0 calls. So I was asking myself, am I that bad? What's going on? And then I realized every time I was applying to internships, the companies always ask, are you a Co-op student? And I was not, so I put no, I'm an honest man, right? So then I decided to join Co-op and everything changed. Also, it's so time-consuming to look company one by one. In Co-op, you have everything encompassed. Everything is there. You just apply there. It's so easy. And for my first internship, I applied to 35 jobs, and I had around 20 interviews. So you can see the difference. That was my reason.
Zach?
So unlike my colleagues, I initially had no idea that Co-op even existed. It was only once I was speaking to one of my friends looking for a summer job that he said, well, you go to Concordia, why don't you join Co-op? And then once I looked into Co-op and I found out that's it, I could get hands-on experience and work in an industry or for a company related to my field of study, I was like, you could count me in, and ever since then, I've loved it and I don't have a single regret.
Thank you. Now, one of the first things you'll do is job search, and for your first work term, that's really critical. So could you share a little bit about your experience of first job search? Maybe start with Anita?
Sure. I just wish I had realized how time-consuming it is to write cover letters and CVs. I hadn't actually started until job postings came up, and then I realized that the job postings are there for 2 or 3 days, so you really don't have time to start everything from scratch when they come. So I've always done extremely well academically. I'm used to things going well. And so people had told me co-op was hard, but I was like, I can probably do it. So for my first internship, I applied to around 80 positions, and I got rejected daily, and that was really hard for my ego. There was one day I got 12 rejections in the same day. That was really not something I was used to. So it was a big reality check, but it's one that I was happy to have gotten now and not when I got onto the job market. It also just made me realize that the job market is really competitive, and it's not just getting good grades that's going to get me there in the end.
Thank you. Gabrielle?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is to explore your career opportunities as of now and really get to know what the job titles are in your field, because this will allow you to be motivated about the future, about your dream job, and really identify what the skills are for you to get there and then develop those skills through your internships. One of the most challenging parts for me was actually to just ask yourself, who am I really? Asking yourself, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are you really good at? I had to actually lock myself up in a room for 3 hours and really think about it. So that was very challenging. But it actually ended up taking me around 2 weeks to create my cover letter and my CV from scratch. I also benefited from consulting with my coordinator, who was Richard. He helped me really develop my CV and my cover letter, and it's really great resources that are there for you. So that's important to note too. I ended up applying to around 33 jobs. I got 9 interviews, and out of that I got 5 job offers. So it's just to show that the more work you put into your entire experience, the more you're going to get out of it.
Thank you. Zach?
So the single most important piece of advice I can offer to each and one of you is get a head start. I cannot emphasize how much getting a head start will help you guys in the long run and reduce the stress with the application process. You'll soon realize that the application process usually happens around the same time as midterms, making it very difficult to balance studying with the application process. So that's why by getting a head start, I mean, you could start working on your cover letter, your resume. If you're like me, when you started Co-op, you had a terrible resume and it was not professional at all. So by working on it slowly but surely, you'll be able to get at least a draft ready by the time applications come around, thus reducing the stress during the applications and just having to tweak it a little bit more. Okay. In addition to that, this is mainly for the science students over here. You'll soon realize that unlike the other programs, there are very few companies that post, especially in biochemistry, on campus. So what I recommend you do is start reading of companies out there. See what there is, see what it is you enjoy, just get an idea. Maybe even start sending out emails. This is what I did, and I got my foot through the door and started contacting companies. This will definitely make it much less stressful and help you in the long run. But don't get discouraged. It may be tough, but you can get through it.
Thank you. Kaylee?
Yeah, so my piece of advice to you guys is, well, especially for marketing, you're going to be writing a lot of cover letters, and you can't just cookie cutter your way through it. So get ready to write a lot of cover letters. And when I used to write them, I honestly thought to myself, do they actually read this? Am I doing this work for a reason? But turns out they actually do. So do work on them and read the job posting. Make sure that you reference job posting of what they're looking for in your cover letter. It makes a big difference, especially some jobs may put a little sneak in there somewhere and say, if you actually read this, like, write it in the cover letter. So do read them. And be persistent. Make sure that even if you don't get a job at one place, just keep going, don't get discouraged, and something is eventually going to stick for you. And when it comes to CVs, no experience is too small. Even if you sold shirts at retail, it's still an experience. It shows that you can work in a team. It shows that you can sell things. It's just, no experience is too small, so don't underestimate yourself when you're writing your first cover letter, because trust me, your first cover letter is your first CV is gonna be very hard. And take advantage of Co-op. I went to see Stephanie, who helped me tremendously for my first CV. She made a bunch of corrections, and I do think it was the difference between getting all of my interviews, and I could have gotten none with the original the original CV I had. And before you go to your interviews, do make sure you research your companies beforehand. The interviewer is very impressed if you already know a bit about the field and a bit about what they do. So do think about those.
Thank you, Kaylee. Sebastian, you have a very special experience. You're the only one on the panel who had an international work term. Could you tell us a little bit about it and how you prepared for it?
Yes, so as I said, it was my exotic work term. And if you want exotic things, you have to work hard for them. There is a lot of paperwork to prepare. There is visa application to prepare. I was lucky, Co-op helped me a lot in preparing all this paperwork. But on top of that, you should also get to learn a bit of the language if you want to survive 1 week in the hospital, right? I didn't, so it was quite hard. But honestly, I learned so much. It was so different from my exchange, because this time I was all alone. Like, I was the only one speaking English and not speaking Japanese at all. So I learned a lot. It's worth it. But as I said, you have to work hard for it.
Thank you. Some people say that being at the Co-op is study, study, work, work, and you have no time for your life. So could you tell us a little bit about your work-life balance during Co-op? Gabrielle, maybe?
Yeah, the statement of you have no life if you're in Co-op is totally not accurate. I was a Co-op student. I was doing exceptionally well in my studies. I had the time to spend time with my family and my friends, go out. My boyfriend lived at Sherbrooke. He went to Bishop, so I was driving between here and Sherbrooke every weekend. On top of that, I was a teaching assistant. I've done a lot of volunteering work, and I managed through all that to sleep 8 hours a night. So it's not an accurate statement.
Zach?
So in my personal experience, I would say that this statement has some aspects which are true and some aspects which are false. Look, as a Co-op student, it was a challenge getting in, and it's definitely a challenge being in Co-op, and you will be swamped with work and have very little free time. But if you plan your time accordingly and have proper time management, there's nothing that could stop you from managing it, okay? In this case, for biochemistry students and science students, you guys are only in your 3rd week. You'll soon realize your program involves nothing but studying. Everything you will do will revolve around studying. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. But again, I cannot emphasize that, again, it comes during midterms and it may be difficult, but if you try your hardest, you're dedicated and motivated, there's nothing from stopping you and you can achieve it. Look, I survived and I'm still here, so.
And he did great. Kaylee?
Yeah, so I'm going to put in some numbers there. You're going to be probably applying to jobs for about 1 month only, so it's not so bad. And then you're going to be doing interviews for about 2 weeks. So when someone says that you're going to have no life at Co-op, well, really it's only a month and a half that you're going to go through that. And even then, you don't have an interview every day. If you do, then good for you. You got a lot of interviews. And usually you should already have your CV done. So it's really just, you're going to be busy for a little bit, but then you're going to move on and make sure you enjoy your life here at Concordia. You're only here for 3-4 years, maybe 5, but enjoy life. Like, this shouldn't be a death sentence. You're going to have a lot of fun. There's so many things to do on campus. There's so many things to do. So just make sure, go play video games, join one of the teams here at Concordia, join a society. It's really worth it.
Thank you. Sebastian?
So I have to say, I agree with Zach. I agree and disagree. It is true that some semesters are really hard. For example, summer semesters for engineering, everything is condensed. I remember I had 3 classes in summer 1, and I had labs and tutorials in each one of them. On top of that, I had to prepare for interviews, to apply for jobs. But at the same time, I was working part-time, and I was heavily involved. I've been part of the ECA, which is the Engineering and Computer Science Association. I was part for the ECA for 2 years consecutively. And I can say that, yes, you get really busy, and it's very the workload is really heavy. But hey, this is how we learn how to manage our time. My trick was my agenda. It became my best friend. Everything was in there. I had colors and many other things. So that's how we learn how to manage our time.
Thank you. As if it wasn't enough, believe it or not, these students find the time to volunteer. And they do a lot of it. So could you share a little bit about your volunteering experience? Maybe Gabrielle first?
Yeah, there's many opportunities for students to get involved on campus. And for Co-op especially, it really sets you apart from your peers. It shows employers that you're able to prioritize tasks and work in a team. So that's why it's very important to volunteer. Through my interviews, I was always asked about my volunteering experience, especially for behavioral questions like tell me about a time where you thought you were going to succeed but you didn't. You have to have examples already in your head about that, so those examples can come from your volunteering experience. Also through the application process, you're allowed to attach additional documents in your applications for the Co-op postings. I would always attach my co-curricular record, which we mentioned earlier, and employers really, really recognized my volunteering experience through that. So that's good. So examples of volunteering I've done. I've been a mentor for the Co-op Mentorship Program. I mentioned that before, for 2 years now. I'm also a volunteer for the open house. I've been doing that for three years now. I am a volunteer for the undergraduate Office of Student Affairs at JMSB. So I actually go out to CEGEPs and talk about our programs, promote our programs to new students, promote Co-op to new students. And through all that, I also was involved through associations. So every major basically has a student association that represents them. So I was the Vice President of Academic Affairs, so taking care of all the academic side of supply chain and BTM at JMSB. So it just goes to show that there's a lot of things that you can do, and no one's going to tell you that you have to go do it. It's just on your own. You have to go out and find the opportunities and know that it's beneficial for your CV.
Thank you. Zachary?
As a co-op student, you're definitely encouraged to give back to your community and volunteer as much as possible. So like Gabrielle, I became involved in my communities starting in my second year studies, where I was also a participant of the open house, acting as a representative for co-op, trying to encourage new students and give them the information about co-op so that they can join and reap the benefits. But I would say that my most significant volunteering experience has been through mentoring, where I'm sure if you guys haven't already received an email regarding the mentorship program, you will soon receive it from Leslie, who is the brains behind the operation. I truly believe that mentoring is a very rewarding experience, not only for the mentor, but the mentee themselves. The mentor gets to share his or her experience with the students and try and help give them advice to succeed, where the mentee gets to absorb all this knowledge and succeed themselves. So this involvement in the mentorship program led to myself, as well as 2 fellow co-op students, and in collaboration with Leslie, founding a new student initiative called the Co-op Science Mentorship Council. So this is exclusively for science students, mainly biochemistry, biology, chemistry, and physics, where the idea, you'll soon realize that we're at our own isolated campus from the rest of Concordia. It's a very small community, and you should get to know one each other. So the idea is to drop in and get some advice and help from students that are in the same position of you. I won't go into too much detail about this, but you'll all be receiving an email shortly from Lucia, your program coordinator, inviting you to an orientation session for science students where I will be there myself, and I encourage all of you to attend to gain more information about the Mentorship Council and how you could benefit from it.
People don't realize, but mentoring and things like that is a career thing. It's not just a university thing. I still have a mentor, and I still mentor people, and you probably guess my age. Kaylee, you have a quite different experience in volunteering. Could you share that?
Yeah, so I'm also a mentor for marketing students, but I decided to, instead of volunteer at school, I decided to volunteer at the companies I worked for during my internship. So during my first internship, during Christmas time, I helped deliver presents to all the kids at the St. Justine Hospital. So we delivered a bunch of Mega Bloks toys to all the kids, and that was probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And then I got to play Elf when we had underprivileged kids come to the Mega Bloks factory, and we decided to do a Meet Santa's workshop type thing. So we had some guy from packaging dress up as Santa Claus, and we got to take the kids through the factory, and we gave them a meal, and we also took pictures with them with Santa and the elves and everything, so that was a lot of fun too. And then during my last internship at Autodesk, I also volunteered to organize activities for all the interns. So Autodesk actually gave us money to plan activities amongst ourselves. So I organized a evening to go watch Logan when it came out in theaters. I also did lunches, so I got a big sushi lunch going and all of these fun activities. So there's other ways to volunteer than just at school. You can also go out in your communities and find maybe organizations you really like that you'd like to volunteer for. So think outside the box.
So there's all kinds of ways you can volunteer, not just through co-op, but everywhere. And that really looks on your resume. Let's switch the subject now to networking. Now, we talk about networking all the time as being something incredibly important. So could you share a little bit about networking and how important it is to you? Maybe Gabrielle, start.
Yeah, so your network is very valuable to you because people unlock opportunities, and these opportunities and these people might not be immediate. An example of this is last year I went to a PepsiCo recruitment event for marketing students, but I'm not in marketing and I was not interested in that at the time, but I went because I wanted to meet the company and I wanted to meet new students. And it just turned out that I met a recruiter and I didn't really give much thought about it, but we added each other on LinkedIn. And a full year later, so a few weeks ago, she actually contacted me out of the blue with an opportunity, a full-time job opportunity. So yeah, your network is super, super important, and having a LinkedIn account as well is very, very useful for you because it allows you to create connections that are not so much Facebook connections. What you could also do is, it's a good place to start for networking is the co-op itself. We have different social media accounts like our Instagram or our Facebook where we post all of the networking events. So that's a great place to start, but there's other places too, like through Concordia that you could go to networking events and just meet new people, meet employers. There's the career fair next week. One thing that I noticed is that many students will only start going to networking events when they feel very desperate to find a job. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that this is the way that you should build your network. Your network should be built by the time you go out and look for your first job. So definitely there's a lot of opportunities for you to meet new people.
Thank you. Kaylee?
Yes, so I decided to network when I was on my internships, and it really opens doors for you. So I have a great relationship with Mega Bloks, and I know that if I really want to, I can turn around and be like, hey, can I have a job? And well, hopefully they would take me. But it really does open doors for you. And even if it doesn't open doors at that specific company, they've worked at other places that can open doors for you anyway. So for example, when I was at Mega Bloks, there's one of my supervisors, he has contacts at Blizzard and Ubisoft. So, and he's offered to send my CV to his contacts over there in marketing. And on the flip side, when I was at Autodesk, I decided to go talk to somebody that wasn't in my department. She had just arrived, and I just decided to go say hi and ask what they were doing and what they were working on. And it turns out she was a headhunter on LinkedIn, that all she did was look for people and place them in companies. And we got to talking, and turns out she told me before I left that if I ever need a job in any city, to just hit her up and she'll find me something. And that is the most useful contact I could ever ask for. So definitely make sure you create a network when you're on your internships, and don't stick to your little department. Try to go out and meet other people, because you never know who somebody knows and what door that will open for you.
Thank you. Now, often we associate internships with just like they give you a job, they make you grab coffee. Hopefully we'll never see that. But actually, people on the work term do important things. Many of the projects you'll be on will be significant. Could you share a couple of things that you're mostly proud of? And let's start with Zach.
So what I'm most proud of is the work that I accomplished on my second work term at Chemical Computing Group. So as I previously mentioned, it's a computational chemistry company that works in developing a software for studying proteins and antibodies. So in my second work term, I took a more research-heavy position where myself and a fellow co-op student, we were tasked with developing a new methodology for mapping epitopes. So for those of you that don't know what an epitope is, that's the region of the antigen, which is what makes you sick when you get sick, that the antibody will effectively recognize, bind to, and destroy or target it for cell death. So this was something that we were tasked with, and we were actually successful in developing a new methodology, and it turned out that we ended up writing a research paper on the new method. I recently found out from the company that this is something that they intend to publish on their website and potentially in a public journal, sorry. It may sound like, okay, it's just a paper, that's nothing huge, but in the end, most undergrads, if not any, publish any papers during their undergrad. And having a publication on your CV or even just out there really increases your chances of securing a position when you graduate and will really help you in the long run.
Thank you. Oh yeah, you can applaud. Maybe if most people didn't understand what you were talking about, they should realize you did something amazing there. But it's not the only. Sebastian, I think you have a very incredible story to tell us.
Yes, so the thing I'm mostly proud about is when I did my internship in Japan, I was working in engineering design in the team designing the landing gear for the Airbus 320. And I am from industrial engineering, and the position was a fully mechanical engineering position. And even though it was fully mechanical position, I designed the up-lock mechanism, which is what holds the landing gear of the Airbus 320. And up until now, my design has been tested against 3 different softwares and is still the best design. So is the design that's going to be up there in the Airbus A320 for the future. Even though I'm from industrial engineering, I was able to apply my background in order to solve a fully mechanical design.
So the next time you land on an A320, a little bit of him is there. Gabrielle, want to share?
Yeah, I'm most proud of the work that I did at Canadian National Railway. I worked on a lot of different tools and reports for the division, the supply chain division. One of the tools that I created was a data visualization tool for inventory movements. So I was able to actually show the entire division how our inventory was popping up in different places across North America on an interactive map in Excel. So that was considered very innovative by the team. I also worked on a forecasting model for budgeting and planning purposes, and I worked on a new global sourcing strategy for a new type of rail. which is also very rewarding. So basically all the tools and the reports that I created are still currently being used by CN today, and they actually also they're working towards implementing the tools that I created across the supply chain division, so I'm very proud of that. Another thing that I'm proud of is that I am the winner of the Quebec Co-op Student of the Year Award, so I worked very hard for that, and I'm very honored.
And this is just to show you that many of the work terms offer significant work that asks you to contribute to the organization. It's much more just than a job. And most of those are never published. So let's ask the question, how a co-op is a different experience for you? And let's ask Anita to start with that.
Yeah. So my co-op experience, I think, was pretty different from many co-op students because I did do all my internships at the same company. So as I said, for my first internship, I applied to like 80 jobs. And then one day I saw the posting for Ubisoft pop up on Compass. And I was like, it was my dream company, but I wasn't going to apply because I'm like, I'm a first-year student. I have no experience in the gaming industry. Like, there's no reason for them to hire me. I ended up clicking on the post anyways. And I saw that they only required a CV, no cover letter. So I figured, I already have a CV, I might as well apply. It'll take 2 seconds. So I did apply. When I got the call saying I had an interview, I was almost in tears. And then the day after the interview, I was actually walking towards the interview for another company, and I got a phone call from Ubisoft telling me I had the job. I've never smiled so much in my entire life. I walked into the other interview with the biggest smile on my face. The company probably thought I was so excited to be with them. So yeah, that was honestly an amazing opportunity. Then for my next 2 internships, all I had to do was message my manager on Facebook, be like, can I come back? So that was pretty good.
Zach?
So my co-op experience has been unique for 2 major reasons. The first is, like Seb, I switched into co-op late, and that meant that I was going out on my first work term with students that were on their second and third work term. So as you can imagine, it was much harder to secure a position, but I still managed to secure one. The second is I chose to become very involved in my community, especially in co-op, trying to give back as much as possible, where my primary motivation for doing so was all the support that I received from the co-op staff. Whether it's from your coordinator, your academic director, they're there to help you as much as possible. And to show my appreciation, I wanted to give back and help by volunteering through mentoring and whatnot. And it really gives you a sense of satisfaction because you feel like you're contributing to the success of other students as if they've contributed to the success of yourself.
Thank you. Now, of course, on this side, we have 5 successful co-op students. They're just completing the journey, and you're just starting. So let me ask you, what kind of advice would you give this group on their journey to start their journey? Maybe start with Zach?
So you may have been told that the co-op journey itself is no easy one, and that's definitely not a lie. But the biggest challenge is getting accepted into co-op, and you're all sitting here right now, so congratulations to all of you. On top of that, if you work hard and you give it your all and you're dedicated and motivated, there's nothing from stopping you from succeeding. Look, if you were to ask me 4 years ago when I was sitting in your exact position, if I would be here right now, I would have said no chance. But here I am, so anything is possible.
Gabrielle?
Yeah, I just want to say, be ambitious, be confident in yourself, be yourself, and kind of figure out what you want to do with your life. Also, give back to co-op because they give so much to you and they deserve your help as well. So.
Kaylee?
Yes, so my advice to you is learn from my mistake. I live in Vaudreuil, so it's about an hour and a half to get here every day through commutes. But make sure when you apply for jobs, you look to where the position is and see if your travel time is going to be worth it or not. So I made the mistake is going out for my first internship, I applied to every single job I could find, and I ended up getting an interview 2 hours away from me, which was in Montréal Nord, and it was a 2-hour drive, not a 2-hour busing. So that was a big mistake. But on the flip side, I applied to Autodesk, and Autodesk is very far from me again, but it was worth it because Autodesk is such a prestigious company to have on your CV. So even though my travel time was an hour and a half one way and an hour and 45 minutes back home, and I still work the 8-hour workday, it was worth it because even though I drove Vaudreuil to Saint-Anne-de-Bellevue, trained to du Saint-Lalier, took the metro to Square Victoria, I'd walk 15 minutes to work, and did the same thing all the way home. It was really worth it because Autodesk, I learned so much, and they were such a great company to work for, and it opened so many doors that, in that sense, the sacrifice was totally 100% valuable.
Thank you. Sebastian.
Yes, so guys, it is now that you're building your future. Everything you do now, all the internships you get, all the experience you acquire, and the grades you obtain, your GPA, all of this is going to decide your future life, your career, and your job. So think about that, guys. But also, get involved. Enjoy these 4 years and a half, or 3 years for other programs. They are the best of your lives. So get involved, work hard, play hard, and enjoy it.
It's the last question, so hang tight. So you are now at the end of your co-op journey, but it's not the end. It's actually the start of your career. So could you share a little bit what are the next steps? Where are you at? Maybe start with Gabrielle.
So all 3 of my employers actually made it clear that I was very welcome to come back and work for them. All I have to do is give them a call. But I've also had other opportunities through LinkedIn. Companies have reached out to me, such as L'Oreal and PepsiCo. And actually, through my entire experience, I've discovered that I really like project work, and I think that consulting would be a career path that I would like. So I've applied to Deloitte. I've interviewed with Deloitte, and I am currently waiting for a response for supply chain consulting.
Thank you. Zach.
So if you guys haven't figured it out by now, I'm clearly a super scientist at heart, and I'm a super nerd. So as you can imagine, my future holds for me school, and then some more school. I plan to continue and do a master's in microbiology or in immunology, and then a PhD in a related field. And my long-term career goal is I want to work with some of the most deadly viruses known to man. So to name a few, Ebola, Lassa fever, smallpox, anthrax, you name it. The more dangerous it is, the more I want to work with it. So keep your eye out.
Anita.
So as I mentioned, I am still working part-time at Ubisoft till I graduate, with the intention of going to a permanent position once I do graduate. And I'm looking into doing a master's in artificial intelligence part-time while I do that.
Kaylee.
So my future isn't fully defined yet. I'm kind of playing the field and seeing what it is, what company and where I would like to go, since I would love to go to California and work in Silicon Valley. But I do know that I want to work in social media marketing, and I would love to do it for either a technology or a video game industry field. So we'll see where it takes me.
Sebastian?
So I'm almost done. I'm doing my last 3 classes that I finished in December, but I'm also doing my capstone. Capstone for engineers. Do we have engineers here? You guys are gonna love it. It's a 1-year project. You start in fall, you finish in May. So I'm doing my capstone now, plus 3 classes, which means I can start working by January. So I'm currently job hunting. I'm in the middle of many interviews this week, next week. I had a final round interview this morning, 5 hours, and while I was here with you guys, I got the call. I got the offer for that job. Can't wait. So, yeah, thank you.
So as you probably notice, there is not one path to co-op. So let's first thank all our panelists for their time and giving back. I will ask them to exit the room because they will be outside the auditorium in a few minutes if you have any questions. So while I do my wrap-up speech, it'll be very short, 2 hours, 3 hours, or something like that. So you will have a chance to ask them more questions if you want to, or specific things. Now, have you noticed through this, co-op can be an amazing thing for your career. It can jumpstart your career, but it requires one thing: your engagement in the process. All the resources are there. We have amazing employers We have amazing coordinators. We have amazing academic director. They all want your success. But you have to be in the equation also. You have to go through the process and say, yes, I'll prepare in advance. You're students, you won't procrastinate, of course. You never do that. But in co-op, you'll see that it will give you rigor and you'll access opportunity that you probably never dreamed of. Actually, for those who are not familiar with Ubisoft, but this is the mecca of computer engineering and video games. Most of the stuff we get at co-op are not in the open market. They're not available. The employers come to us to get the best resource. So the challenge I'm giving you right now is, in 3 years from now, how many of you will be at the panel table? Raise your hand if you want to. So remember this, and co-op will bring you whatever you put in. So talk to your coordinator, talk to your academic director. My office is always open. You have questions. You are at the start of the journey. Good luck.